This is television. Roger Cook returns with another Cook Report in half an hour. First, John Francis and Helen McDermott present Anglia News.
East Anglia's own television news service is launched. Anglia News comes closer to home in Norfolk, Essex, Suffolk and Cambridgeshire. Our luckiest newcomer, the baby rescued from Romania to start a new life with new parents. And the Duke of Edinburgh says hello campers as Sandringham bids for a bigger share of the tourist trade.
Yes, hello. Well, good evening to you. And here we are. Welcome from John, Fenella and me to the very first Anglia News exclusively for the 4 counties of East Anglia.
A little later, we'll be explaining in some detail exactly what we're doing and how we're doing it.
But the priority, as always, is to give you the best regional news service with all the best results and issues that matter and the top stories from around our region. Helen.
Well, first, a man has been charged with murdering a father of 3 children who was stabbed outside his home in Thetford at the weekend. Stephen Maycrow, who was 27, was attacked during a disturbance in St Mary's Crescent on Saturday night. One of his neighbours, David Charles Burlingham, a 49-year-old glazier, was remanded in custody.
Is quite different from the programme that's being seen tonight in the western part of the Anglia region. So let's take a few minutes now to explain why and how all this is happening.
Charter company. For the past 30 years, we on About Anglia have been bringing the nightly news into sitting rooms from Corby to Clacton, Lynn to Luton. And as the population has grown, so has the news from the region. Now the idea is to bring the stories and the people that affect you even closer to home. Well, not quite as close as this, but I'm sure you've got the message. Well, to those changes, and we're not, of course, going to be directly broadcasting from a sofa, comfortable though this one of the lasts is, but there are going to be changes other than the set and the music, and those have mainly come about in response to complaints by many of you. It seems that people living in Clacton and the surrounding area want to hear more news of that area and are not so interested in what's going on in Milton Keynes. And this has caused us a bit of a problem, how to please everyone from everywhere. So we hope we've come up with a solution by splitting ourselves in 2. From now on, those in the west of the Anglia region will be getting their own programme, so these are the areas you won't be hearing about. Instead, we'll be concentrating on what's happening in the east, where you live. Inevitably, there's an overlap area in the middle, and here you may be able to choose which programme you'd rather watch. More about that in a moment. But on Anglia East, there's still going to be some of the same old faces.
True.
But there's going to be several changes behind the scene, including lots of new technical toys to play with.
Here in our Norwich newsroom, there's now a team of 16 journalists dedicated to Anglia News East, as well as to our bulletins throughout the day and evening. The computer handles everything from incoming stories to the preparation of final scripts, and it's linked to our news centres in Ipswich, Chelmsford and Cambridge. We'll be hearing more from them later this week.
Tomorrow night I'll be taking you around my patch, the fair county of Suffolk. From our news centre here in Ipswich, we'll be going to the Sizewell nuclear site, to the home of British horse racing at Newmarket and the booming docks of Felixstowe.
On Wednesday, we're coming south to my neck of the woods, Essex. From Chelmsford, I'll be taking you around the county where the capital meets the country. It's a bustling, beautiful county, as those of you unlucky enough not to live here will find out.
On Thursday, be my guest for a tour of Royal Norfolk. Our news centre is the headquarters at Anglia Television here in Norwich. The fine city is the capital of East Anglia, where the development and business boom continues apace, and the character of the county is going through its biggest ever change.
And there's more change than you might think going on here in Cambridgeshire, where I'll be your host on Friday. If you thought we were no more than a university in the middle of the flatlands, then we've got news for you. In fact, like all the news centres, we've got news for you each and every day.
I suspect that many of you will have seen a television gallery before. This is ours. It's really the control room for putting the programme on the air. And we've got 1 or 2 interesting technical innovations here. Our vision mixer, for example, has access to a whole range of special effects. Not that you'll see them every night. slide file provides for the electronic storage and recall of still pictures. And when it comes to projecting moving pictures, there's a robot called Mark, ready to play in stories recorded on videotape in an order pre-programmed by computer. And down in the studio, more robotics, because in this programme, studio cameras change shot by remote control. But even when those television signals leave here, we still have a long way to go.
Their first stop is one of these. I'm standing in front of over 100 tons of steel stretching up 500 feet, without which you wouldn't be seeing us now. This is a transmitter, and this one's at Tackleston. It covers from Great Yarmouth to Swaffham and Cromer to Bury St Edmunds. There's another one at Sudbury, covering Felixstowe to Saffron Walden and Bury St Edmunds to Southend. If it's happening in East Anglia, Anglia News will cover it, and these transmitters will beam the pictures into your home. As Helen mentioned, there is an area of overlap, or rather an area of choice. If you live in the yellow-shaded area, you might like to have a word with your local television dealer, and he'll be able to advise you and your neighbours about directing your aerial to receive the Anglia News you prefer.
So there you have it, a brief explanation of how it all comes together and ends up, we hope, on the box and in your home. Fetch us a cup of tea, Reg, would you?
Bit of McDermott cheek there, they won't invite you back.
I don't know, very nice cup of tea, May. Thanks very much indeed to the last for letting us into your house. Well, meanwhile, there was quite a sound to be heard over the houses of the folk in allegations about the use of funds during the 1984 pit strike. Estimates of the damage caused by a fire at a clothing factory near Braintree in Essex have risen to £10 million. The owners say they suspect arson. Lebanese kidnappers have contacted Syrian forces in West Beirut to arrange for the release of a Western hostage. It's expected to be Irish teacher Brian Keenan, who was seized by gunmen in April 1986. And to the weather, well, apart from an isolated shower near the north coast, the night will be fine and dry, with temperatures falling to near 10 degrees Celsius. Tomorrow is expected to be a dry day with variable cloud and some sun.
And that's it, our first offering from Anglia East. Hope you approve.
Indeed, yes, Mark, the robot, behaved himself, and Fenella behaved herself. She'll be here in this seat tomorrow, but for now, from us all, very good night to you.
Good night.
Night.
Roger Cook follows up the NUM inquiry to find out where